now.
Okay, welcome to Speak Your Truth. Today's national discussion is about teen dating violence awareness. This evening, we are here to discuss how to pick up signs that your boyfriend or girlfriend can be abusive. Now, as Mr. Xavier did mention at first, I will be saying this is a very sensitive topic. So if you need a second to step away, that's fine. You can let us know, or you don't have to, because it's totally understandable if you have to step away to gather yourself for a second, because it is a sensitive topic and it is hard to speak on. So, why speak your truth? Speaking on teen dating. We are an organization that shares stories, tips, and advice on how parents and their teens can become more loving, understanding, and less argumentative. We also acknowledge that everyone expresses themselves differently. Healing is a process. So you can see it as we work with parent and children advice to better a household, but we also are here to help healing and understand and address it, that healing is a process, that you cannot judge someone for how they deal with it, because everybody expresses themselves differently. You can't compare somebody to somebody else, because we're all different in our own different ways. So this evening, we are here to have a discussion on different types of abuse that can happen in relationships. Some you may know and some you may not. So now I will pass it over to Mr. Xavier and Miss Veronica so they can read y'all our vocabulary words for this evening.
All right, so we're going to share just a few vocabulary words so you know that this is not things that we're bringing up and that we're deciding on. This is coming straight from the dictionary, and these are sensitive subjects again. So again, this is something that if you feel you want to express yourself, this is a great opportunity to do that. So domestic abuse is any act of threatening behavior, aggression, or abuse, and that's psychological, physical, sexual, financial, or emotional amongst people who are or have intimate partners or family members, regardless of gender or sexual orientation. You go to the next slide. Now, physical abuse is part of domestic abuse. It's the leading cause of injury to women, more than car accidents, muggings, and rapes combined. Every 9 seconds in the US, a woman is assaulted or beaten. Every year, one in three women who is a victim of homicide is murdered by her current or former partner. 1 in 3 teens in the US will experience physical, sexual, or emotional abuse from someone they're in a relationship with before they become an adult. Veronica, you going to get that one?
Okay, sexual abuse. It is often perpetrated using force or by taking advantage of another. Approximately 8.5 million women first experience rape before the age of 18. About 3% of women, American men, or 1 in 33, have experienced an attempted or I can't see this, completed rape in their lifetime. One out of every, I can't see the bottom of that.
1 out of every 10 rape victims are male. I'm gonna read that again. 1 out of every 10 rape victims are male. So a lot of times we don't think that males can actually get raped, but 1 out of 10, which is that's 10%. All right, I'll take the next one. We have abandonment abuse. Abandonment abuse is making someone vulnerable and being left without the ability to obtain basic necessities. Abandonment fears can impair a person's ability to trust others. Abandonment issues are also linked to borderline personality disorder, or BPD, and attachment anxiety.
Verbal abuse, a form of psychological mental abuse that comprises of comprises the use of spoken, nonverbal, and written language directed towards a victim. These behaviors are used to manipulate, intimidate, and maintain power and control over someone.
Then we have mental abuse, and these are acts that can cause someone to feel insulted or demeaned. The goal is to wear down someone's self-esteem and make them feel worse about themselves. All right, Marissa.
Okay, so we not, as you've seen in previous slides, we're not just giving y'all information that's our opinion. We're stating facts, giving you numbers. So 43% of college women report experiencing violent or abusive dating behavior. And every year, nearly 1.5 million high school students are physically abused by their partner. Oh, so now we could take a break from all of the informational points for a couple of minutes, and we're going to have a group activity. How we want to play this evening? I or someone else will state a phrase or a question. If it applies to you, then you raise your hand on Zoom. Does everybody know how to do that on Zoom? Raise your hand with the little button.
If you do, raise your hand now. O'Neill, I
Yeah,
see
you
you got
know.
your hand up. If you know how to raise your hand or do a thumbs up or something, go ahead and do that now so we can make sure you're able to do it. All right, I'm not saying anything. Okay. All
Yeah.
right, so we got 5 people up, so.
Okay, you can also write in the chat if you agree or if you don't agree. If you don't know how to put your hand up on Zoom, you can put it in the chat or something if you agree with the statement or the question. And then after you state if you agree or not, you'll have the opportunity to also explain your answer. So this is where this becomes a discussion. This is where we're about to make this a conversation, because we had you sit through all these words and us talking, but now we're going to get to know each other, understand each other's point of view better, and we can learn from each other. So I'll read the first question.
All right,
The first question.
hold on, Marissa. Put your hands down if it's still up. Kieta,
Okay.
Kayla, and Mackenzie, your hands are still up. So go ahead and put them down. All right, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. So, come on. First question is, do you think that some people are attracted to toxic relationships? So, if you agree, you raise your hand or you put in the chat, I agree. If you don't say anything, but you will have the opportunity to explain why you don't agree with the statement.
If you want.
If you want, of course. If you
So
want
we got
to.
a few hands though. We have DJ, Michael, Mackenzie, O'Neill, Nia or Nay. I'm sure I'm saying it wrong. We're gonna say Nay.
It's Nay.
All right, myself. All right. Is there anybody out there that wants to kind of talk about their thoughts around this? Again, do you think that some people are attracted to toxic relationships? If so, why?
Would it be all right if I went first?
Absolutely. Thanks, DJ.
Of course.
I definitely agree with this statement because, well, I'm sure we all know the relationship between, in the DC universe, Harley Quinn and the Joker. I had a friend who we were talking about it. We were literally just talking about the characters, and they mentioned that they would, if the Joker was real, like they would really want to date him. And I was just so confused by that because the relationship is like, it's really bad. And I mentioned that and they said, that's fine. And I was still just so confused. I mean, I didn't want to say anything because it's not my place, but in my head, I was just so confused. Like, how someone could be attracted to that type of abuse. It really just stuck with me.
So what type, and for the folks that may not be familiar with the Joker, and what's the person's name?
Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn. So what type of abusive tendencies did they have? Was it physical, emotional? What was it?
Like just about literally all of them, the physical, verbal, like humiliates. And it was like, it's just not a great relationship in my opinion. It's a terrible relationship in my opinion.
DJ, why do you think people are attracted to toxic relationships?
I don't know. Some people just think that it's cute. Some people are just like, oh, for the like quote the fun of it. But I don't know. I don't understand it really.
No, yeah. You get that a lot in high school. I will say that. You get a lot of people like in toxic relationships because it's fun, it's exciting to them. But they don't understand the dangers behind them toxic relationships that they are in. Mackenzie or anybody else wanted to go and explain why?
I can add something.
Go ahead.
I feel like a lot of people are attracted to toxic relationships because they feel like they can change the person who's being toxic. I feel like for some people there's something about a challenge that attracts them, or they feel like if I can change them, I will have made a difference. And that doesn't always apply to people, and it does it. A lot of people, it ends up hurting them more than it does helping the other person.
Yeah,
Right.
you're right.
Thanks,
You're
Mike.
right.
And I'm not going to put your hands down. I'm not going to call anybody out, but if you want to share, anybody, has anybody ever been in a toxic relationship? I, for one, have.
I could say I have as well.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right, good stuff. And thank you guys for sharing.
Now, do you mean, Mr. Xavier, do you mean a relationship as in a dating, a friendship, parental?
Either one of them, any relationship, whether it was dating or anybody in proximity to you, that you feel was toxic. So I see you raising your hand now. Okay.
Yeah.
I can venture out to say probably the majority of people have been in some type of toxic relationship, whether they recognized it or not. It may not have been toxic to the point where it was they were endangered, but anytime that your self-esteem or anything is compromised on your end, that can deem to be very toxic. So thank you guys for sharing. Marissa, I think we're ready to move forward.
Next question. Okay. In an abusive relationship, do you believe it is easy to leave and escape? So if you feel like it is easy to leave and escape, put your hand up. If you don't, you don't put your hand up, of course, but you can't explain why you feel like that statement is false. I'll go first. Do I believe it's easy to leave and escape an abusive relationship? At times, it is not. It depends on the abusive relationship you are in. It can be physical abuse, and that's the relationship you are in. It's not always easy because if you look at it, their physical abuse comes from their anger, right? So they might not let you leave. They might hit you if you want to leave. No, you can't leave me. That's not happening. You're never going to leave me. And then they hit you. It's not always easy for you to leave. Now, if it's a verbal abuse, it may be easier. They're yelling all the time. So you walk out, you leave. I'm done. I don't want to deal with this no more. And they're just yelling. So it's 50-50 for me. It's sometimes it is easy for people to leave and sometimes it's not easy.
I'd like to add that, I think it's very difficult to leave those type of situations, especially when you're in them, because with that person being abusive, they're taking away whatever strength you have, and they're abusing, or So give an example. You said physically abuse, the abusive people. There's a fear that's instilled in that person, that if they leave and they get caught, you know, what can particularly happen to them. And then like a verbally or emotionally abusive person, your self-esteem and just the things that will strengthen you or get you to a point where you're able to leave or, you know, contemplating leaving is taken away, because that person has stripped you of it. So I think it can be extremely difficult to leave and or escape. We'd love to hear from some other folks if you want to chime in.
For sure.
And
Wow.
if not, we'll go ahead and push forward to the next question.
Okay. Are you aware of any resources that help someone prevent or get out of an abusive relationship? So if you are aware of resources that can help, you raise your hand. If you're not, no, keep your hand down. And with this time, there's no why do you feel this way question. This time it's a do you feel like it's, how can I word this? Do you feel like it's okay that you don't know about resources that can help you or prevent you from being in an abusive relationship? So anybody can go if with their hand raised. DJ, you want to go start that off for me?
Yeah, I think it could be as simple as talking to a friend and they'll help you realize the place you're in with this other person is not exactly okay. It's not really good for you. And even that, sometimes just that, having a friend tell you you don't deserve to be treated like this is enough for you to realize you're absolutely right and I should leave this while I can. But other times it can be so much harder than that. It can be a personal, I can't leave this person. Like I can't. And that's harder to realize because you're telling yourself you can't do this. And you might not have anyone telling you, like on the other side of your shoulder, letting you know you can, like you're strong enough to not be in this anymore.
Anybody else want to go? Michael, you trying to go?
Well, let me ask this. Has anybody, I don't think this is one of my questions. Has anybody tried to help someone get out of an abusive relationship? And if so, you know, were you able to help them? And what were the challenges?
I can speak on this. I think for me, I have tried to help someone get out of a toxic relationship before, and it didn't work. And I think it's because that person didn't want to be helped. I feel like you can only help someone who wants to be helped. Like if it's trying to force your opinion and force your way of thinking onto someone, I don't think that's going to make the situation better. That person's situation didn't get better for them and they're still somewhat in it. But I think that me establishing myself and realizing that me trying to insert my opinion wasn't working and just reassuring to them that if they did need to talk about it, that I was there, they still come to me and talk to me about it now and come up with solutions that help them from time to time. But I just reassured to that person that I was still there regardless of their decision.
Okay. Thanks for sharing, Michael. Let's see if we can get some of our older adults to kind of chime in. We've lived a little bit longer of a life than some of our young folks. And would you like to share some of your experiences with others or around this subject?
I wanted to share, currently, I know someone who is in a very abusive relationship. And they revealed it to me. It's physical and it's emotional and it's psychological. And this person is much older. And unfortunately, a lot of the resources that they had have dwindled away. They're in a lot of financial trouble right now. And when they were telling this to me, when they were telling me this, they really just revealed it to me. When they were telling me, it was, I won't say it was overwhelming, but it was very surprising and it was disheartening. And, you know, I was just telling them, well, hey, like, you know, there's some people that I know, maybe, you know, they're about to lose their house. Maybe they, you know, you can go here. And they, you know, they're like, you know, I just need a place to go or whatever, because I'm about to get thrown out of my house. And then I had to rethink it because there are so many dynamics, because the person who's in the relationship they're truly in the relationship. So wherever their trouble is with them at this one spot, it will follow them to another spot. And you know what you have to realize, and what I have come to realize over the years. I used to be very judgmental over people who were reluctant to get out of abusive relationships, because I was looking at it from the lens of someone who was healthy. Like, this person is not treating you right, get out of it. And if you don't want to get out of it, then you must want to stay in it. But a lot of times it is that people do not have the physical strength, the fortitude, and also they just can't see past their own fears. I know love is blind, but fear is blinding. So if you are completely frightened about what may happen to you as an individual, if you're out of this relationship, and I'm not talking about this person may hurt me if I try to leave them. It may be, and I think it was Marissa or somebody who just basically said your level of self-esteem is so damaged that you feel like this is kind of like what you deserve, and this is gonna as good as it's going to get. And if I let this person go and if I leave, then what's going to happen to me? I'll be alone and I'll be broke and I won't be supported. And, you know, this guy isn't so bad after all. You know, this girl, she don't really mean to do what she does. And, you know, maybe I'm making too much out of it, and part of it is my fault. And it snowballs into something else. But the basis of a lot of it is just fear. You're scared of being alone. You're scared of whatever you maybe even be embarrassed. I don't want anyone to find out about, you know, this, because they're all going to think I'm weak or stupid. So a lot of times we can have resources in front of us, but because of our own fears and because of what's going on within our mind psychologically, we're either too afraid or we can't see how to access those resources, whether they're good friends telling us, you know, and giving us great advice on how to get out of it, or whether or not there's, you know, some things set up for you to be able to go to. And it's really unfortunate. A lot of people, you know, will make it out, and there are some people who actually just, you know, they won't make it out until it's too late. So you just have to like keep pushing and approach from a non-judgmental standpoint.
And it's thanks, Travis. And you said something actually a couple of times that this wasn't one of our questions, but I want to ask this. O'Neill, I saw that you unmuted a second ago, so I'll give you a second to go ahead and chime in. But let me ask this quick question. How many people on this call have been judgmental of someone in a relationship that was toxic?
I have.
Raise your hand.
Very much so.
And you looked at that person and was like, why you just don't leave?
Oh, you must be weak, you know.
Yeah, you must be weak, or you better than this, why you doing this? And that's there's a lot of hands going up. That's one of the issues that people don't leave, because they feel judged, going both ways, leaving and staying. And that's, you know, that's one of the barriers that I've seen firsthand, where folks weren't able to leave because they, you know, they were letting folks down both ways, or they at least felt that way. O'Neill, did you want to add something?
Sure. I'll address your second question before I go into Travis. Listening to Travis talk reminded me of a friend I have as well. But I have been judgmental to someone who was in what I didn't understand to be a abusive relationship. What happened is they a lot of people in their outside world, their friends and family, saw that that relationship wasn't the best for them, and because people were saying you're making a bad decision, you're not doing what's good for you, what's best for you, that made that person stay in that relationship even more, I guess you could say, because they felt like, at least in this relationship, I'm okay. No one's judging me. No one's saying I'm making bad decisions. I'm making bad choices. So that kind of shame or embarrassment uh, does contribute to someone staying in an abusive relationship. Just to your point, Xavier, and before that, I actually have a friend who was also in an emotionally abusive relationship. Um, this relationship happened a little while after the relationship I mentioned a little while ago. So I grew from my experience in dealing with how to talk to someone about the signs that you see in an abuse relationship. One thing that I did, I talked to another mutual friend of ours, and said, "Hey, this does not seem like this is the best relationship for that person." And instead of saying, "Well, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that?" I said, we got together and say, "Hey, if there's ever a point in time that you feel like, you may be a little confused or upset, just feel free to reach out to us. We're always going to be here if you want to talk to us about something." Um, I will say at that time, it did come. She responded a little bit more aggressively or negatively because she thought that we were saying something underlining what we weren't. We were just saying, "Hey, if you ever want to talk, just feel free to talk." But looking forward into the present, she's actually out of that abuse relationship, and she thanked us that we were able to say, "Hey, you guys told me years ago, and I just didn't see it back then." So one thing that she told me was that in that verbally abusive relationship, she felt cut off from everyone. She felt like there was no one she could talk to. She felt that there was her parents. She couldn't talk to her parents because of the relationship. The person she was with cut her off from a lot of other people. So just looking back, she said, "Well, it felt great to know that I could at least reach out to someone despite feeling cut off from everybody else." So that's just something I wanted to add from what I've seen from my experiences.
Good stuff. Thanks, O'Neill. Good stuff. And thank you to everybody that chimed in. Really appreciate that. All right, Marissa, you want to move forward?
Next question, for sure. Of course. This right here, this is a good question. Can only females can be in abusive relationships? So if you agree with this statement, you can raise your hand. And if you disagree with it, you can explain why you disagree with the statement.
Well, I disagree. And the statistics that we said earlier showed it. There are more males in abusive relationships than you would ever imagine.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because if you really look at it, if you ever seen like rape cases, you see more females, and they don't put the men's perspectives out there. They don't put the men rape out there. And they acting like it's just so uncommon for a male to also get raped. They act like it's only females when it's not. It's men out here going through the same thing, but can't talk to nobody because nobody believes that, oh, you're a man, you didn't get raped. That don't even make sense. That it doesn't make sense. Um, Kayla, you have said no in the chat. Do you want to explain why you said no? And anybody else, if you agree or disagree with the statement, you can explain why you agree or disagree. Mackenzie, I ain't heard from you. I'm trying. Mackenzie, what's up? Where you at?
She there. She there.
I know you there. I want to hear your opinion.
I definitely feel like only women cannot. I mean, I definitely feel like both men and women can be in an abusive relationship, but I feel like for so long it's more common, I guess, for a female to be in a relationship. I mean, to be in an abusive relationship. So it's, I guess, to a certain extent, you could say it's more rare to hear a man being in an abusive relationship, but it's also like I feel like in abusive relationships, like it's most of the time two sides to it. Like it's not always a male that's causing the abuse, or it's not always a female that's causing the abuse. You know?
Yeah, you're right.
And Nay is saying no, because males get abused too, and Kayla is always one-sided. Yeah. O'Neill just dropped the link in the chat to the National Center on Violence Against Women. Thanks for that. We're actually going to give some other links a little bit later. So, but I appreciate that. It's one that we didn't have. Appreciate that. All right, Marissa.
So I believe that was the last question. Now we have more. We have more stuff to cover. So, Mackenzie, can you read this slide for me?
Of course, I can.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Unhealthy, abusive, or violent relationships can have short and long term negative effects, including severe consequences on a developing teen. For example, youth who are victims of teen dating violence are most likely to experience symptoms of depression and anxiety, engage in unhealthy behaviors like using tobacco, drugs, and alcohol, exhibit antisocial behaviors like lying, theft, bullying, or hitting, and thoughts about suicide.
Okay. So before we move on with this, have you speak any? This is for everybody. Have you ever went to your parents to tell them, "Oh, I might be depressed," and they hit you with the, "You can't be depressed. You're underage," or "You can't be depressed. I provide you with food, water, clothes." Have your parents ever just said something like that to you, and you look at with me? I look at my mom when she tell me that. I'm like, that don't even make sense, mom. Because mental health comes from an early age. Mental health can start in the household that you are in. So how can you say, oh, your age, you're too young to have depression, you're too young to have anxiety? Then shouldn't a lot of these little kids that are just born, shouldn't they be too young to have cancer? That it doesn't make sense. Why? What's the point of saying that? You know? Then you see a lot of parents, or well, I'm not even gonna say parents, a lot of adults, they see a child doing tobacco, drugs, and alcohol, and they automatically think, oh, they doing that to fit in. They doing that because they see their friends doing it. But they don't never pull that child aside and ask, are you okay? It's always they trying to do, they're a bad influence. They always going down the wrong path. And they never sit down and actually ask a child, are you okay? How's your mental health? What's going on inside your head? Everybody just think, oh, they okay. They're kids. They okay.
So I'm gonna read what's coming in the chat. And I caution you to say, don't say always and never. Don't do absolutes. I say a lot of times they don't.
A lot of
But I get what you're saying. But Kayla is saying, I've told my parents that I probably need therapy, and they say, for what? There's nothing wrong with you. You got it good in life. And that's kind of exactly what you said. And we've all experienced that. I mean, our parents, they care for us, they provide for us, and they feel that, we shouldn't have, well, I'm saying we, y'all young people shouldn't have any stress because, your bills are taken care of, all that kind of stuff. But still, this life is just, it can be stressful at times. And I deal with a lot of young people, as y'all know, and I hear some of the stuff, Travis, you know, some of the stuff that we hear and we encounter with our young people, man. It's just, I can say that a lot of things that we dealt with when I was younger, even though we dealt with stuff, is far different from the issues that you guys deal with, and for different reasons. The world is smaller now for you guys, so it's a little bit different.
Yeah, and I can definitely say that because I hear stories all the time from my mom, aunts, uncles telling me, "Oh yeah, I ain't have to do that one back my days. I ain't do that. I raised myself. Well, not I raised myself, but I didn't have to raise my siblings. If you look at it now, a lot of the teenagers, we have little siblings that we gotta raise because our parents are at work, our parents are out. We lose our lives because we gotta watch our younger siblings. And I don't see how that's fair. Like I understand they're our responsibility as well because they are our siblings, they're family. So we should take care of them. But I don't feel like our life should be put on hold for them.
All right.
And I
Yeah,
just kind of wanted to, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, thank you. I agree. I feel like I'm the oldest sibling out of all my parents' children, and I agree. I feel like a lot. I feel like now it's a lot for teens is spent being that third parent or sometimes second parent for
Mhm.
your younger siblings, and it's sacrificing things that you'd rather be doing, whether it's school or extracurricular activities or going out with friends. You're spent being responsible for your younger siblings, and that could be damaging to the older siblings. Like, why can't I go out and live the life that I want to instead of being here taking care of my siblings? Why do I have to sacrifice being who I am, experiencing things that my friends or peers are experiencing because I have older siblings?
Yeah. Mr. Travis, did you want to say something?
Yeah, it's so funny because there is someone in my program right now who is responsible for his two younger siblings, to the point where even the way he sounds when you talk to him, he doesn't sound like a teenager like you guys. He sounds like an adult. Like when I talked to him, like he was at one point in time, he was pretty late to school all the time. And he was telling me, well, I got to get the twins up and I got to get them ready and get them dressed and cook them breakfast. And when he was talking, he literally sounded like an adult. He sounded like he was about 36. And I think what I've also had to understand too, I'm the oldest sibling in my family. I did not have the experience of having to raise up my siblings or help take care of them in a major way because my family financially was well enough off where that was not an issue for me. So I was allowed to be a kid. And a lot of things that are happening in our society today are systemic. So basically, it's set up within the government, it's set up within different financial systems where parents don't really have a choice except to use what they have. And it's been like that for a very, 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 very long time in this country, in the Black community. And it seems now the reason why a lot of us are saying, I didn't have to do that growing up is because actually things are worse than they used to be. So you have, especially after this pandemic, you have a lot of young adults, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old, who are playing the role of a parent. And so also too, when that happens, it can be a strain emotionally. It can be a strain where, parents and kids kind of bump heads. There's a lot of resentment that sets in because it's like, well, this is not fair. I'm a kid and I shouldn't have to deal with stuff like that. And also too, if there is no sort of support that's offered, psychologically, emotionally, that's when things can snowball into abuse. So if you feel like there's not a way out, you have a lot of anger, you've been denied a lot of the love, attention, support, and care that you should have had to be a healthy adult, then when you become a healthy adult and you get into a relationship with someone, it can come out as abuse, you know, and a lot of times that's what we find happens with abusers. Abusers, somewhere in their past, especially growing up, there was a lot of damage. So because of that damage, and because there's a sense of being powerless, because also too, especially when it comes to the crime of rape, that is an act of power. It has nothing to do with hatred. It has nothing to do, I mean, it's a hateful act, but it's power and control. And so when you grow up feeling powerless and out of control, you end up, you know, taking that out on someone else to kind of equalize yourself. And so there are a lot of things that we have to consider. That's why Black mental health is really, really important. All mental health is important, but like because we are in a position where um, we're the most vulnerable, Black mental health is super important. Super important. So
What's up, Travis? Appreciate that, Travis. DJ, I see you got your hand up. I want to welcome Tia and Wood iPhone to the discussion. Welcome. Go ahead, DJ.
Yeah, I also wanted to speak on the point of view of like having to parent yourself. I am a middle kid. I'm a middle kid since towards the middle of last year. But before then, I was the little sister. But at the time, my sister, she didn't live in the house anymore. So by the age of like between 12 and 13, excuse me, but by the age of 12 and 13, I was in the house by myself for like as soon as I got home to before I took a shower to get in the bed to get ready for the next day, I was in the house by myself because my mom was working.
Yeah, no, that's real. That's true. Because like you see it as my little brother, he's 8. My little brother, I mean, no, he's 10. And he was born when I was 6. I was 5 turning 6. And ever since then, it's always been, is he okay? Can you take him here? Can he stay with you? No, you can't go this place because you got to watch him. And then on top of that, because I had to watch him, that means, oh, my mom is available. She thought she was available to go on out. So I had to raise myself. Well, I didn't raise myself, but I had to do a lot for myself at a young age. And it's not always fair. It's not always fair that somebody young has to raise themselves because they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what to look out for. They don't know what's right, what's wrong. And they have to learn that when somebody else that's older can be there leading them and helping throughout their life. You know?
All right, Marissa. So I don't want to turn this into a parent bashing thing. So how does that connect to abuse? So if you're, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, how does it connect to abuse?
Yeah.
In relationships, right?
Well, in any way. So as a young person, if you're
Anyway.
experiencing this, how does that, you know, as you get older, how does that rear its head?
Well, I can give an example and anybody else can chime on in. You know, whatever you learn as a child, that's what most of the time you give off to somebody else, right? So if you're hurt younger, most likely that's what you look for in a person because that's what you was taught. So say someone taught you how to walk, you learn that's with you for the rest of your life, right? If all you see is yelling and arguing in your household, that's gonna be with you for the rest of your life. Which also that's what you look out for. Oh, my dad and my mom did this, or I saw an older cousin do this. Well, I guess it's okay for me to do it as well. which is also abusive to somebody. That's abusive to you. That's abusive to somebody else. And you don't learn that way. They raising their hand.
Okay. Yeah, I see Michael and DJ. I'm gonna read.
Raise
DJ, you
hand.
wanna? Michael, I'm gonna go ahead and let you go. But DJ, you wanna? I'm gonna read what DJ wrote in the chat. She said, "I think the way this connects to abuse is the neglect. The way I had to spend so much time with myself in the house all alone or with the younger siblings." All right. Well, Michael, go ahead. What you got to say?
I agree with both Marissa and DJ. I feel like most behaviors are learned and or acquired. So, like she said, if you are if all you're getting is arguing and negativity in your childhood, you're gonna grow up and that's gonna be in your heart. You're gonna carry that with you. And when you have kids, that's what you're gonna feed to them. And that's that generational curse thing that we've been dealing with for so long. And I feel like it connects to abuse because it's emotional abuse a little. It's emotional and mental abuse, and it can also be manipulation as well. I feel like some parents can I feel like they say, oh, you have a roof over your head, you're eating, you have the basic bare minimum necessities, you're taken care of. Now I need you to do all of this that I did for you to your little siblings, and then it's ripping things away from you. Like Mr. Travis said, it's a straining motion, it can break you down a little bit because it's teaching you, okay, I have to put everyone else first. I have to put my siblings first. I have to put these people before me and take care of them before I look in and at the end of the day realize that I am not okay or I'm not taken care of. That's what it's teaching you, and that's how you're going to continue out on throughout your life, is not making sure you're okay, but putting everyone else before you, which in a way can be good, but it can also be.
Nobody else wanted to chime into this? No, that's
Well, I'm gonna do
cool.
this. For some reason, my power went out, so I don't know what I missed. But Michael, I heard most of what you said. I appreciate that. DJ, your hand is still up. Not sure if you want to say anything. But for the folks that came on a little bit later, I do want to say that and remind people that this is a safe space. Your opinion is valued here, and we're here to listen. None of this stuff that we're saying is scientific. These are just our thoughts and our opinions about this subject. So feel free to chime in. Stephanie, I see you on the line. So if you want to chime in at any point, please feel free to do that, because I know you have a clinical background around this. But Marissa, if you want to move on. And DJ, did you want to say something? Or are you good?
No, that was a previous hand. I'm sorry.
All right, no problem. All right, Marissa.
Okay. Ooh, DJ, I need you to come off mute. This is for you. This is your slide.
Healthy relationships are not abusive. Loyalty means in a relationship being patient, open, and communicative to your partner. Understanding. You can empathize with the other person, make space for them to think and feel the way that they do, and respect that what they're experiencing is about them and not about you. Trust, relying on another person.
Okay, so in relationships, there are things that your relationship should be built on. You have loyalty, understanding, and trust. Those are the three ones that we have today. With loyalty, to be patient, open, and communicative. Because what is a relationship without being able to talk to each other? What is a relationship without being able to express yourself to each other? How is it a relationship if you can't be open and honest with that person? And even when you're being communicative, that leads with understanding. People can talk all day. I can say don't touch that because it's hot. Speaking about the stove, I can be saying that to my little brother, like, don't touch the stove because it's hot. He asked me why. Automatic answer, because I said so. Then, because he's curious, he goes out and he touches it anyway. He's hurt now. Now he's wondering, oh, I shouldn't have touched it because it was hot. We could have avoided that situation if you just communicated what was saying and you make sure they understand. You can't just say something without understanding behind it, because then it's just a thought in the air, you know. And then you also can't communicate with somebody if you don't trust them. How you gonna communicate with somebody you don't trust? If I can't trust you, that I know that you're going to, what I tell you, keep that to yourself. If I can't trust you enough to help me with what I'm coming to you for, why would I talk to you? Why am I even sitting here trying to talk to you, trying to get you to understand me if I don't trust that you'll help me with what I need help with? You know? So what are some signs of an abusive relationship? You may be able to prevent the situation by paying attention to the signs given. Some of the signs that you should pay attention to are, Miss Veronica, can I get you to help me reading these out? If you can. If she's there.
Here, I had to minimize my screen so I see the whole slide.
Okay.
Jealousy and possessiveness. To be with